Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Google Hangout here, Business Breakthrough Google Hangout, and it's Glenn Dietzel here, live from the Canadian Lake Home, and I want to welcome all of you to our training event today. I'm going to be spending the next 30 minutes answering some questions that came in from our training last week, and if you missed the training last week, definitely use the link on our Google Hangout page here. If you're watching this from another location, off-site, if you will, of our Google Hangout page, definitely go to our blog and take a look at the training that I did last week on how to build out a really cool way of structuring your advice, organizing your advice to not only build active income, but also passive streams of income using a completely different new model and a new way of looking at business. And I want to answer the many questions that have come in from all over the world. I'm humbled, honestly, totally humbled that you spend time with us each week. Many of you who are clients, many of you who are taking a look at what makes us different and are interested in engaging my company. I'm 100% humbled by that, and also very proud of our track record in terms of working with clients and building the kind of success rate that we have with our clients. So I've made a list of questions here, actually several pages here in our in a file folder here, right here, that I'm going to pull out here. And I don't have time to read all the questions today, but I'm going to pull out some of the questions where there was where a certain question asked of me, and other questions that were kind of, if you will, in the same genre of questions. So we've kind of chunked them, if you will, and I'm going to answer those questions for you. As we get started here, if you haven't yet had a chance to access our manifesto, you definitely want to take a look at that if you're especially if you're interested in putting together a high-end training program or a high-end training company, or taking a look at your own existing coaching or consulting business and really leveraging your advice and learning how to package it a little bit differently. So I'm going to, what I'm going to do today is spend the next 30 minutes basically reading some questions here that came in, and if I mention the person's name, each of these questions here had other people that asked similar questions, so I just took a question, if you will, that fit a number of people that asked the same question, and chose one of you here to represent that category of questions. So I'm excited about what I'm going to be showing you today. I'm going to disappear here a little bit because I've put together some slides for you to take a look off my desktop. You know, sometimes if you've been following us, sometimes I showcase to you what I want to teach. Other times I just talk to you. And today I'm going to be disappearing a little bit and showing my screen again, and taking you through some fundamentals that I think are crucial and kind of drive the basic questions that came in from a different perspective, if you will, so you can take a look at why it's absolutely crucial if you want to survive into 2014 and from here on in, especially in the online world. You've got to become very, very, very strategic. You've got to know how to build out your competitive advantage. And there are people today that are investing in our programs because they realize, after being in other people's programs and checking out what's going on online, that they can't find anywhere online what we're teaching around how do you actually build a competitive advantage and execute really quickly, literally overnight, to close deals and build out your company. So I'm going to show you some of that today. And the first question that came in here from our last week's training was this. This comes from Joyce. Joyce says, Glenn, I'm tired of trading my time for $300 per session. I believe Joyce must be a coach or a consultant. I have wanted to write a book, and now you have got me rethinking my entire strategy. Arg. Joyce, I understand. I sense a little bit of frustration because you've been going a certain direction. You haven't been getting what you want because you are tired of selling your time for $300 or trading your time for $300 per session. You know you need a much more powerful model to elevate your value. And as we talked about last week, it's more important than focusing on your content, as important as that is, that you focus on the right context for giving out your content. And it's sort of like, you know, trying to sell a $5,000 suit in a dollar store. It just doesn't make sense. And yet so many people today are trying to sell higher end or higher ticketed programs and services, and yet they don't have the right framework. And that's one of the reasons why having a certification program, especially as I talked about last week, having a program that is centered, a new entrepreneurial style certification program that allows you to bring your value and magnify your value a lot more strategically. So I'm going to, Joyce, answer your question too at another level with a question that came from Don and Jan coming up, okay? The next question that came in to me, and I will read Peter's question because he represents that kind of category of question, and it was this: Glenn, what do you mean by co-branding? What do you mean by co-branding? What I mean by co-branding is this. In essence, what we were talking about last week was in creating your own private white label coaching or consulting program. Creating your own private white label coaching or consulting program. In today's marketplace, as I talked about last week, in order to survive, you've got to have high-end programs and services. Yes, you've got to involve your clients in the educational process, or i.e. in your marketing. And you know that if you've been following us, that I define marketing as an assessment, and everything that you do and how you set up your educational systems, how you set up your qualification processes for people to work with you, all needs to be guided by the assessment, if you will, framework. So marketing equals an assessment, assessing your marketplace very strategically to choose you. And Peter, to answer your question, setting up a co-branding program that leverages a certification program. So as I explained in previous trainings, you want to build a certification program that's completely separate from your co-branding or program. And it's not licensing and it's not franchising, it's co-branding. It's a completely different way of building passive income. All right, and that's why I created this program. There were 5, 6 years ago, I was inundated with all kinds of gurus online that wanted me not only to help them build out their back end for their coaching and consulting programs, but they also wanted me to do their fulfillment. And that got me starting to think about how can I leverage my intellectual property, because this is the IP age. How can I leverage it very strategically so that I control our intellectual property, but I have a way, if you will, of getting paid where I'm not trading time for money. And yes, I do trade time for money in certain situations. I do one-on-one private consulting. Clients invest $25,000 to come in for a one-day here at the Canadian Lake Home to work with me, meet my family, and really give me an opportunity to work intensely on their business, to build out their presentations, show them how to close deals, how to build their competitive advantage, how to completely reposition them in the marketplace. But one of the best models that we've done that is the best way that I know how to build passive royalty streams of income is following our model of Omega Mind, or following what we teach in Certification Royalty Riches around how to build out your own certification and co-branding program. So the certification program and the co-branding programs are completely separate. They have to be separate. So we talk about co-branding. Another way of referring to that then, Peter, is to think of it as your own private white label coaching or consulting program. All right, so just like companies do private white label in products, you're going to be doing this as a service, and it's highly strategic. Why? Because we live in the service-based economy. It's an economy today where people either want it done with you or done for you, done with you or done for you. And there's no better way of if you're going to organize your content today, and that's going to lead to my next question here by Jan. There's no better way if you're going to take the time to organize your content. You might as well start by being really strategic, so you can close some deals, high-end deals, and build the kind of cash flow to grow your company. So that leads to the next genre or the next category of questions that came to me, and I'll read Jan's question here. I'm just starting out in coaching, and I'm not sure whether I should not first focus on writing a book. Right, there's a double negative there, so I think what I'm reading here is Jan's wondering if she should start with writing a book. Jan, you know that if you've been following us, we were huge advocates of a program called Entrepreneurial Authoring that we created as a company, got us recognized by Adobe. We ran one of the very first ebook authoring programs 12 years ago, and a huge advocate of having a book. The problem is in the older economy, i.e. the information age, having a book was a right thing, because it really truly did allow you to set yourself apart. And especially, you know, putting together an ebook when it was new, that technology, and then Amazon came around and has made, and then there's all kinds of programs, and we teach those kinds of programs too, and how to get on Amazon really quickly. And the problem with all of that now today is, yes, you're building authority in your field, in your niche market or niche market, but the problem is it's not allowing you to stand apart. And in today's marketplace, you've got to do things. You don't have to necessarily do things better. You have to do things differently. Write that down. You don't have to do things better. You just have to do them differently. So I want you to get over thinking that, well, I don't have the expertise of this person in the market, this guru or this expert or that. And I'll tell you this right now, that if you trust in the processes that we teach our clients, and I've been showing you, and trust the fact that you have your own unique fingerprint in the marketplace based on experiences, your own experiences going through your school of hard knocks, your own way of solving problems based on the kind of learner that you are, whether you're an auditory, visual, kinesthetic learner. And I tell you all of that because all of you have a unique thumbprint, unique blueprint, if you will, for bringing in your own system to the market. And the problem with doing what all the other experts do in your market and writing a book is it doesn't give you any kind of leverage to instantly position yourself above all your competitors. So that's why I said you don't need to be better. And I'm not saying that what you do shouldn't be excellent. Hear me clearly. What I'm saying is this, that so many people look at better as in comparison to other experts or gurus that maybe have 30 years on that person, or maybe if you've been following some of our clients that are only 25, 26, 27, closing some $25,000 to $35,000 programs. We've got clients doing that all the way up into their 80s. But that's not the kind of better I'm talking about. I'm talking about being different, positioning yourself completely different in the marketplace. That's why having a certification program, if you're going to organize your material, your content into a table of contents, which you're going to need to do if you're writing a book, why not organize your content inside of a certification program that's going to follow the 3 steps that I'm going to show you, okay? So this is where I'm going to disappear for a little bit. I'm going to show you 3 steps that are crucial in understanding what makes our entrepreneurial certification program totally different than any other certification program in the marketplace. And not only that, but when you follow these 3 steps, you build yourself immediately a completely different framework for building your own private white label coaching or consulting program, or a co-branding relationship where you build two types of important streams of passive streams of income. So I'm going to disappear over the next few minutes, back and forth. I'll come back, and then I'm going to share my screen here. And I drew out some diagrams for you, and I thought, you know what, I want to do these on slides for you. I put this together here this morning based on the questions. I spent a couple of hours preparing myself for the questions that came in, kind of chunk the questions, if you will. So let me share my screen here with you. And I'm going to take you, first of all, I'm going to show you something here that you might have seen before. If you've been following us for a period of time, you will. And I'm going to show you the traditional business funnel, okay? So I'm going to put onto presentation mode here on the slides that I've drawn out. And you've probably seen this before, and if you haven't, if you're new to our Business Breakthrough Google Hangouts and what we teach at newgurumodel.com, is a whole new way of positioning your advice that's not leveraging the traditional business funnel. In a traditional business funnel, usually it's wide at the top. We call it the X strategy X because I don't believe in it. And usually the gurus and experts that teach this, and just about everybody does, says that you need to start with a $27 book or product, and then drive somebody into a $49 program or service, and then to a $99 higher end program or service, and then all the way down to the bottom here, where somehow magically you are going to bring somebody into a high-end program or service. Now the problem with this traditional business funnel is this way is broken. The funnel is way too long. There's a 50% return rate, and actually it's closer to 70 to 80% today. And there's a 70% loss at each level. That means that people that come in up here at your $27 book, only 30% of them go to the $49 program. And only 30% of those people go to the $99 program, and only 30% of those go to the $499 program. That means that 100 people that come into your high-end, your top front-end product, only 15 go to the next level, only 3 go to the next level, and only 1 person goes to the next level. And that means that the average customer value that you are bringing in, if you're following this model, is about $28.81 per customer. All right, so I'm going to come back here, and I want you to see that that model is a recipe. It's just a recipe for business disaster in the advisory age, in the day and age in which you need to know how to promote what you're doing. That traditional sales and marketing, especially in the online world, doesn't work, has limited benefits. That's why you don't need a website. You don't need a high-priced copywriter. You don't need even to create a presentation. You don't need traditional business funnels. You don't need convoluted business funnels, and all of the tactics and so-called strategies that most gurus and experts teach. You need to be a lot more strategic in how you advise, and that starts then by the framework that you're going to use for plugging in and organizing your content. So to answer again, we're going to answering Jan's question, but why she shouldn't write a book and how instead should she organize her content. All right, so the first thing that I want you to note, Jan, and all of you that wrote similar questions about wanting to become an expert and what was the best way, or what were some potentially alternate ways outside of certification. And this is why I'm a huge proponent of certification and creating a high-end division within your company, or a separate entity, or a separate company within your companies, if you will. And that's because you want to be a lot more strategic. So I'm going to disappear here again, and I want to show you and take you through a 3-step process that moves away from the poor person's business funnel. And you saw this here, $28.81 per customer. I don't believe in that. The problems then are that you lose speed to market, number one. That's the biggest thing that I want you to see, is that there's no speed. And today's market is not the big that eats the small, it's the fast that eats the slow. You immediately lose market share forever. and your market dwindles at each level. And you've got an incredibly small chance of making a sale. So what we teach in Certification Royalty Riches, and here's what I want you to see about organizing your content, all right? So we teach very specifically that you want to invert your business funnel. Flip the funnel. Flip the business funnel on its head. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the following. So here's what I want you to do, Jan, and those of you that were asking similar type questions. I want you to follow these 3 steps, and in step 1, here's what you need to do when it comes to organizing your content. So you're not using a table of contents, if you will, for writing a book. You're using a strategically created table of contents, if you will, TOC, for closing deals. All right? So step 1 is you want to build your competitive advantage. That's crucial. All right? And we've covered some aspects of building your competitive advantage. At the next one-day Business Acceleration Intensive, I'm going to show you exactly how I build out my own company's competitive advantage and how I teach my clients to do it. A lot faster than putting a business plan together and all that time-consuming, slow stuff. All right? You build your competitive advantage. Next, you've got to have a conduit that's going to create speed and momentum for you. I call that speed to market. Thirdly, you want to focus on creating your first profitable business transaction. Your first profitable business transaction. Because if we define business, business really comes down to, if we just take away all the, some people define business, all kinds of different ways, cash flow statements to balance sheets to having a product, having a series of services, utilizing systems like Infusionsoft and tracking systems, etc. If we distill business right down to what you should be focusing on, and that's creating your first profitable transaction. And that's why I'm against, in so many ways, what most people teach about creating expertise, because it's too slow. You want to focus on creating your first profitable business transaction. Next thing you want to do is focus on the 5 core areas of business. The 5 core areas of business. So we increase the size and number of transactions. Whoops, we just go back here for a sec. So we create our first profitable transaction. The next step, or the subset, if you will, in step number 1, is then increase the size and number of transactions. All right, so once we create our first profitable transaction, then we want to increase the size and number of transactions. And then next we want to focus on the 5 core areas of business. Okay, so this is what we teach in building out your certification program. First, build your competitive advantage, then focus on speed, and that is getting into the marketplace. Then focusing on, as you get into the marketplace, you've got to close a deal, and then closing the size and number of deals. And then from that, now you're starting to build some momentum. As you build the size, number of deals, you're now focusing on the 5 core areas of business: value creation, value delivery, marketing, sales, and having high profit margins. All right, so those are the 5 core areas of business. So we could distill business down into 5 different areas. And that's really what business is all about, is those 5 areas. So notice there's no writing books, that doesn't even come into the equation yet, because our goal is to close deals, all right, and to create speed, and to create our competitive intelligence. That's number 1, right? And then speed, and then making our very first business transaction. The problem is that so many people spend so much time putting a whole slew of products and services together that they forget to focus on what really the essence of business is. So once you increase the size and number of transactions, then the last subset of step number 1 is to focus on now chunking your content or chunking your business around the 5 core areas that make up what business really is. Whether you're an offline business, you're selling a physical product, or you're selling a service, it all comes down into value creation, value delivery, marketing, sales, and you've got to have high profit margins. Okay, you following this? You getting this? Jan, I really hope you are. So I'm going to move into step number 2 now. So I'm going to disappear, And let's go here to step number 2. So we'll finish off here where we were. And step number 2 then looks like this. So to reinforce step number 1, we just went through each of these subsets, if you will. Step number 1. Now step number 2 looks like this. Okay, so we build again off this framework, the inverted business funnel. And step number 2 is we now layer on a model over top of the model that we just did to provide us leverage. So the next step then in creating your certification program is to actually create your certification program around the 7 core areas that you're going to want to have systems around. When we talk about that, many people think it's going to take a long time to create. No, it isn't, because my clients create this as they're building out their company. That's key. They're not creating their certification program like most people write a book, separate from marketing feedback, separate from creating any kind of momentum, separate from not transactionalizing their value in the marketplace, separate from not increasing the size and number of transactions, separate from not really understanding what business is all about. So step 2 in the certification process then is to develop your 7 key systems, because as you develop these, and you are going to create some massive leverage for yourself to be able to set up a co-branding relationship, maybe sell some of your assets or your intellectual property, some of these systems separately. So first of all, the first system that you want to have is a better business model. And that's why I showed you the framework here around the inverted business funnel. So you want to start with a better business model that's going to generate cash flow and a better valuation for your company. That's what makes certification royalty riches so powerful. Next, the next critical system you have, and you're going to already know these from leveraging the 5 core areas of business: value creation, value delivery, sales, marketing, and high profit margins. So if we build the 7 systems inside of those 5 core business areas, now you're developing a client vetting process, following exactly what we've been teaching you to do. Next, you have a client intake system. So once people make the investment in the program, how do they get started with you? Then you'll have to have a client services process. How do they go through your program? All right. How many calls are you doing? How are you organizing your group calls? And that's part of what we do at the 1-day business acceleration intensive, is I show you my business model, putting all of these together very powerfully and very strategically. Next is the 5th key system that you want to have, is having a client management system. All right, so managing clients. How do you bring in hundreds of clients, albeit even thousands of clients, into your program without getting overwhelmed, and at the same time leveraging what we call an ROIT business, return on invested time? Strategic vendors. Building out your company, you're going to have some strategic vendors that you rely on. And that's another critical system that you want to develop. And then finally, and most importantly, is having accelerated teaching learning systems. And that's really important, especially in today's marketplace, where people want to be able to move at an accelerated rate. Some people have been talking to me directly or have been contacting our office, and I'm humbled again by that, and wondering around the different levels of programs that we have. And our Omega Mind program is the program that I always tell people, if they're really interested in true business acceleration, and if you've been watching what we've been doing, you've been meeting a lot of my Omega Mind members. I'm going to interview one of them next week and show you how this client, within just a few hours, was able to sell 7 programs at $12,000. Sorry, 6 programs at $12,000, $72,000 programs, profit margins that are around 96%, and able to do that in just a few hours of work. And that's what we're talking about, building an ROIT business where you get the kind of returns that you want, doing it at an accelerated rate. And that's the power of accelerated teaching and learning. So I want to show you an example of accelerated teaching and learning next week on our Google Hangout. And I will be interviewing one of my clients who is in Omega Mind. And that is a sizable investment, but as I tell people that are coming in, the grand scheme of things, 25 grand, even investing in our inner circle, which is 70 grand today, that's compared to what? I mean, that's a very nominal investment when you look at the ROI, and especially the ROIT business that my clients are able to create. And it wasn't, when I was a kid, to start a company, you would have to have gone offline because there was no such thing as the online world, and you're looking at $250,000. To start most franchises today, minimally $200,000 to start a franchise. And as I've showed in the past on some of our Google Hangouts, that using the franchising model for coaching and consulting it will not work in today's marketplace. And I've showed you a lot of statistics that are rather shocking. And licensing, if you try to license a service, you're going to be viewed by the FTC and other governing bodies as a franchise, and that doesn't make any sense. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be shut down. And secondly, I don't want to take all that time and all that illegal cost and lack of momentum and lack of speed to market in growing my advice-based business. So I want to show you now step 3, okay? So I hope you got that our certification program is really a 3-step process. First step is building your business and building it strategically, which means we've got to create your competitive intelligence. We have to be able to leverage speed to market. In writing a book and doing what all the extra gurus say, first of all, don't focus on those 2 areas. Thirdly, you've got to build your first profitable transaction. As I showed you, why would you do it using this funnel as opposed to using this funnel? All right, because if you're going to focus on your first profitable transaction, you want to focus on in the marketplace where there's less competition, where it's a lot easier to close deals. And I'll tell you, and it's almost I think it's still, to me, to a certain extent, still so counterintuitive that unless I've done it over and over and over again, and the fact that I've seen it in my clients in thousands of different industries, I can tell you it is so much easier to sell a high-end program than a low-end product. I know it's scary, and that's why our clients invest, because they want the rest and the assurance, and they want to leverage our predictable, certain, and secure system. So step number 1 then in our certification process is to help you become more profitable, and then scale that profitability, and then turn that and really focusing on the 5 core areas of business: value creation, value delivery, marketing, sales, and high profit margins. Step number 2 then is to start now strategically looking at your systems as you're building cash flow. So we're not building a paperwork like most companies that do certification. There's no focus on transactionalizing their business. It's all kind of administrative stuff, and the fact that you're going to get a piece of paper. And our certification program, teaching you how to build your own certification program, always starts with helping you become a better entrepreneur. Because when you become a better entrepreneur and you start certifying people in your own systems, you're going to create the kind of leverage that you desire, because your own clients are going to be able to model the same kind of systems and proven processes that we're going to teach you. That's the true essence of accelerated teaching and learning, that it goes not just to the first level, but to the second level and the third level, etc. And that's how you build a successful company in today's marketplace. So I covered the 7 systems, everything from having a client intake system to a client vetting process, client services, client management, client vendor processes, client management, having a better business model than what your competitors do. It's all part of your competitive intelligence, right? If you're going to start at an accelerated rate, you're going to need something that's going to give you acceleration. And the traditional business funnel doesn't do that. And then the 7th component is having accelerated teaching and learning systems. So I want to just finish off this here by looking at step number 3. So let's get back to step 3. Let's just a review on step number 2 here. So there's the 7 systems that you want to have. And then step number 3 in our Certification Royalty Riches program is then leveraging your own certification program, because you've created the rules. You've focused off of an inverted business funnel. Many of our clients are launching certification programs that run $15,000 to $20,000, just like we did when we ran our very first certification co-branding program almost 3 years ago now. And you get an opportunity to deal the rules. You deal the rules because you are the house. You got the power of the house, just like in Vegas, where the house has the controls the odds. You get to control the odds in your favor. And so step number 3 then is making smart money through certification, where you're creating the rules, and ridiculous money through co-branding, because you have a really cool way of creating a co-branding relationship that's producing for you 2 types of royalties: a monthly royalty or passive stream of income, where your clients, coaches, and trainers pay you for ongoing assistance and support. It's not going to create any extra time for you when you follow what we do. And secondly, anytime that your coaches, your clients, your trainers, the consultants in your market want to use your intellectual property, they pay you either a percentage or, I like, lump sum royalties for your material, for your the use of your intellectual property with their clients. If you want further assistance in building out your co-branding agreement and seeing this a little bit deeper, there's a bonus program that you get when you register for a certification co-branding manifesto. It's free. This is the future of coaching and consulting, and you can get that co-branding, the 10 tips for setting up a co-branding relationship when you register. Whoops, let me go back here. When you register for right here, the manifesto, newgurumodel.com/manifesto, and you'll get. We've also created for you 10 tips for helping you build out your own co-branding relationship. All right. I've got time here. We're over here. One more question here I'll take. I'm an experienced entrepreneur. That's another category of question that came in. I'm an experienced entrepreneur, Glenn, and I've been following you for years. I'm not sure if I'm ready for this program. And I always chuckle when people say that, because I ask them, why would you say you're not ready for it? Because we've got clients, half of our clients that are in Certification Royalty Riches or in Omega Mind are startups. They're in startup mode. The other half are experienced entrepreneurs. And as I tell everybody, and I will tell you, David, and thanks for asking the question, and for those of you that asked similar types of questions, that if you're really serious about business, you have to be able to execute faster than your competitors are. And if your competitors are already ahead of you, how are you going to leap ahead of them? Positionally, from a competitive advantage perspective, from a teaching and learning perspective. Well, I just can't state this enough, David. If you want to go slow and carefully and methodically, and at the same time getting really, really frustrated with a lack of results, use the traditional business funnel, write a book, put it on Amazon, self-publish it if you want, and all it's going to do for you is do what it's done for thousands of other people in your market today, because everybody seems to have a book and they're doing what everybody else does. And that leads to one of our speed to market principles, that greater sameness won't get you better results. Greater sameness won't get you better results. You've got to be different. And that's why I said it's not necessarily about being better, it's about being different. You don't have to be better, you have to be different. In fact, I'm quoting Steve Jobs. I had a chance to watch the movie with my family a couple of weeks ago, and that was one of Steve's mottos for his company, was you don't have to be better, you have to be different. All right? So this is the intellectual property age. This is the age where you have to have passive streams of income. Because if you don't and your competitor does, they've got the cash flow to grow their company. They got the cash flow to buy out other infrastructure and systems and beat you into the marketplace, even if you're already ahead of them. I can't tell you enough that you've got to make, the first investment you've got to make is up here. The investment in your brain and in the way that you see business. The second investment is the willingness to say, I need help and assistance with execution. And you're going to pay for the best and only cry once. That's It's what all of my, my clients, they make that intelligent decision, pay for the best, and they only cry once, not over and over and over again, because you throw out a few $1,000s here and a few $1,000s here and here and here. And at the end of the day, you're juggling all these pieces, and yet you're getting the same statistics that they showed you at the beginning of the traditional business funnel. And worse than that is you're becoming even more cynical. So I don't want you to see that happen, and that's why we've created some pretty cool systems. So for those of you that are interested in jumping the queue, if you will, and you would like to get priority notification on the next one-day intensive that I'm doing, I am doing another one because the last one that I did was absolutely jam-packed. In fact, our Omega Mind members were impressed that within 3 weeks, actually within a couple of days, but 3 weeks of just getting ready for it and putting a few things together, we had an absolutely packed crowd at my last one and a huge queue of people who want first priority notification for the next one-day intensive. This is an opportunity for you to look at your business, to take a look at what I'm doing firsthand, so I'm not hiding things from you. That's not what I've done to build my company, and what I do and teach is cutting edge. It's highly strategic, and if you like our breakthrough private letter formula that I did as a boot camp, it was a very small $7 investment, just to showcase some of the killer systems that we use on how to get open rates with email that run almost 100%. How to increase the ROI of your email, 1,000-fold. How to use our many systems that we've created that are highly strategic, that are going to get you in front of anybody that you want, and get you to close deals confidently and in speed to market fashion. And going back to your question, who was it here? Jan, why you shouldn't start writing a book. And I'm saying, that there's not a place for having a book. You want to become a better entrepreneur first. You want to create a sellable asset. You want to create a better valuation for what you bring to the marketplace. You've got to increase cash flow. That's why in step one, it's all about increasing cash flow. And then leveraging the kinds of systems that are going to bring in even more cash flow, and then creating some very quickly, very easily, some very strategically created certification processes that you're going to bring your own clients through. Because now you've positioned yourself above all your competitors in the marketplace. And not only that, step number 3, now you've got the ability to create a co-branding relationship following what we teach, and answering Peter's question at the very beginning. What he said here, what do you mean by co-branding? The last question here, this is the last question here from Dawn. And so here's the one day, if you're interested, our newgurumodel.com/one-day, newgurumodel.com/one-day, ONEDAY. You can get on the priority notification list. Dawn, I'm not sure if you are on this list or not already. Last question here comes from Dawn. Glenn, I have so much expertise, but I can't seem to get noticed. I get that I should have a certification program to stand out. Can you explain further so I can really see how this will make me more entrepreneurial? I really need to see this as I want to invest with you, Dawn. Well, Dawn, you saw, I hope, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to draw things out. If you have been on some of our other Google Hangouts, you know how we close deals faster, documented 7 to 9 times faster than anything in the marketplace. And one of the tips and strategies that I taught was creating a visual spatial relationship for what you do. And I created one here today using the traditional business funnel and the inverted business funnel, right? So Dawn, I did that so you could see also, and those of you that wanted to see what the certification co-branding process looked like a little bit deeper, I divided that into 3 steps for you, and it's very strategic. So if you are interested, as we wrap up our Google Hangout this week, in a one-day intensive, being on a priority notification here, newgurumodel.com/one-day, newgurumodel.com/one-day. I'm not doing the next one here at the Canadian Lake Home. I'm not sure if we're still going to have a lot of snow you'll see out here, we're not doing them outside in front of our lake right now, just because it's so cold outside right now. But it is very beautiful here in the forest next to the Canadian Lake home. Over here to my right is Lake Huron. On Lake Huron over here and behind me on a beautiful forest, and it's all nicely displayed here for you on a cold winter's day. So we won't be running the next one-day intensive here at the Canadian Lake home. I'm going to be doing it again at the Vegas Sandcastle. So you definitely, if you're interested in true business acceleration, taking a look at our systems, it's a one-day intensive. You will be blown away by it. It's newgurumodel.com/one-day, ONEDAY, and it gives you a chance to meet me, and it gives me a chance to meet you, and it's an exciting time. And the last one I did, when you see the video testimonials and just the people that were just absolutely blown away, and we had some very sophisticated business owners that came. You don't have to be doing 10 million. You know, some of the people that came have done $10 million in a year in coaching and consulting. There's some people that are just starting out, some people that have already got some modicum of business traction, and others have a lot, but they want to be a lot more strategic, especially in creating an ROIT business, return on invested time. So anyways, that's our Google Hangout. That's our business breakthrough, answering your questions, looking at our entrepreneurial certification program from the lens of 3 steps today. And on our next Google Hangout, I'm going to be interviewing one of my clients and showing you what accelerated teaching and learning looks like. I believe the #1 way that we learn is through modeling. You probably want to write that down, modeling, M-O-D-E-L-I-N-G, modeling. And the reason why my clients love Omega Mind, and the reason why people invest into our one-day intensive, flying in and working with me in a one-day intensive, they don't have to spend $25,000 to hire me out for a day. It gives you a chance to model what I'm doing. And modeling is the fastest way that you learn. All right? So with that being said, I look forward to our next Google Hangout. Have a great one, everyone. Once again, if you are interested in jumping the queue and being placed on the first notification, we'll be emailing you shortly, newgurumodel.com/one-day, ONEDAY. There's nothing else that we're doing by registering on there other than just giving you notification when my next one-day is, so you will have the first opportunity to grab a ticket. And once this goes live, all the tickets will be gone within 24 hours, I guarantee you. Within 24 hours, they're going to be gone. So if you want priority notification, which I highly recommend if you're really interested in growing your company, you're going to want to jump onto newgurumodel.com/one-day. All right? Any comments or questions, please use our Google Hangout page. I don't normally mention that. Still, most of you are emailing me. Please use our Google Hangout, our own page, newgurumodel.com/hangout. Ask your questions there or comments. Phone our international office if you have any questions, 519-542-3043, 519-542-3043. It's the same number that my clients use. So anyways, I look forward to our next time together. Have a great one, everyone, and get ready for our next Google Hangout. It's going to be an exciting one when you get a chance to see what accelerated teaching and learning really looks like in business.